So thank you for joining our panel discussion on social connection and health and wellbeing. I'm Estelle Graham, I'm your MC for this panel discussion. Before I introduce myself and our fantastic panel members here, I'd just like to briefly explain the background to today's event. The Expo emerged from the synergy created by the Holistic Practitioner Network, which was established by Dr. Sarah Moore only 14 months ago. And the whole concept behind the network is to give our community the best possible healthcare that they could experience. And as members of this network, we believe that our primary role is to support you in your goals for optimal health and wellbeing. And this collaboration between passionate, committed healthcare providers has certainly helped provide improved patient-centred health outcomes. So our intent this afternoon is that you'll go away inspired and empowered to make better choices for your own health outcomes and that of your family. Remembering that health is much more than physical, it's emotional and it's spiritual and it's a social component to it as well. My specialty is chiropractic, and I'm passionate about helping people have healthy nervous systems where their brain and body are connected without interference. Research proves that our social connection is a huge, or the quality of our social connections, is a huge predictor of longevity and our health. And we make social connection through a fully functioning nervous system. I have a long-term family practice in Collie, and recently I celebrated 25 years in that location, which was an amazing opportunity to reflect on the lives that I've had the privilege to work with. I also consulted at the Kids Development Centre in Bunbury, which is a multidisciplinary practice, and we're using cutting-edge technology to assess and treat brain function in children with conditions such as ADHD and anxiety. So in our awesome panel here today, we have a psychologist, a naturopath, an osteopath and a paediatrician. And they're all going to share their experience and views on social connection and wellbeing. As I introduce each one, they'll give a presentation, and at the end we'll open up for some discussion and some questions and answers. So our first presenter is Joanne Edmond. And I'd like to acknowledge Joanne today because she and Sarah actually initiated this event that we're participating in. And I know that she's spent countless hours, along with other members of the committee, organising it. So can we give her a round of applause? Joanne is a psychologist and trainer of the practical applications of neuroscience, emotional intelligence and positive psychology. She is the owner of Core Therapy Psychology Service. Joanne is passionate about her work, and she has over 23 years' experience working with children, adolescents and families. Joanne says, when you get down to the fundamentals of what makes people do what they do, it's generally linked to happiness. I believe we are inherently good people, and good people want to do what they can to make their loved ones happier. She likes to take research around positive psychology and neuroscience and make it practical for people to apply. These tools give people skills to make better decisions in their lives and increase their well-being. Joanne is also passionate about giving to the community. She's voluntarily developed mindfulness workshops for schools, which encompasses practical positive psychology techniques, and she gains strength and energy from this project. A surprising fact that you may not know about Joanne is that she had her first beautiful daughter at the tender age of 16, and now she has an additional 2 gorgeous children. Joanne, we look forward to hearing your insights into social connection and wellbeing.
Thank you, Estelle, for that warm introduction. And what you may not know about Estelle is that she started her professional very early on, when she used to adjust her dolls and teddies. So there you go, starts young. Thank you all for being here today to sharing this opportunity for another positive social connection Mostly today, I would like to explore the essence of what brings us here today. And that is this: people matter. I believe the most important part of my role is in sitting beside clients in what we call the formation of a therapeutic alliance. And this means my clients feel valued, important, and they know that they matter every time they walk into my space. Therapeutic alliance is one thing that all of us here today as therapists share in common. We understand it's not the different techniques that we use that matter most, but actually the therapeutic alliance that we create that heals most, because people matter. I would like to share something with you all here today. Did you know that social pain, a mean word, or being socially excluded from others is just as real as physical pain? You may have heard that old saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, scientists and psychologists alike have actually proven that false. Social pain is real, and researchers have found that the same parts of the brain are activated by the pain of recalling social rejection or a mean word, as in the physical pain or hurt of a broken bone. And I will make more sense of this shortly. Let me share the journey of psychology. In the past, it tended to focus on what was going wrong with people and repairing the worst in people's lives. And this provided a great learning framework for us all here today. But as I see it, people are far more resilient, interesting, and complex than this. Positive psychology, which is the framework I work from, it places greater emphasis on the factors that facilitate health and well-being. So instead of fixing broken things, it looks for ways to build things like joy, optimism, strength, and courage to lead a good life. Positivity opens us to more positive emotions, which opens our hearts and minds, making us more creative and connected. It shines a light on the factors that lead us towards things that help us and buffer us from more negativity, while engaging the use of strengths to enable individuals and communities to thrive. These little balls. Through positive psychology, we now know more about the things that help to create that long and happy life. And we all agree upon this one thing, that good social connection is important. Another thing we know the importance of, right, is eating our veggies, breathing, sleeping, getting enough exercise. But how many of us know here today the importance of social connection? And social connection actually improves both physical and emotional health. And there are many studies to prove this now and what the benefits are. And I think you'll hear this from some of my colleagues here today. When we survey people and ask people when their happiest moments are, it's almost always with other people. So, people matter to our happiness. And the things that cause us pain, to feel pain, are things that are recognised as threats to our survival. And social pain can make us feel fear, which signals that alarm system in our body to be activated, just as it would if we were fighting for our life. And it can make us avoid places and things in order to regain a sense of safety. And when this is happening, we're doing what we're meant to do. We're wired to survive in the least painful way. But should we have to face social threats in this way, as we would if we were fighting for our lives? I think not. As we all know here today, that an environment free or full of praise and free from social threats, it allows us to feel safe and happy. So the more we support each other, the more we can help to make a difference every day, to connect with others through kindness and compassion. Did you know that 1 in 4 people say they have no one to talk to about their problems? How can we change this? Well, before we can help others, we need to start by taking care of ourselves with self-compassion. Self-compassion is treating yourself with kindness as you would a best friend. It's saying things like this: when you make a mistake, it's okay to make a mistake. Or when you're struggling with a new problem, we just haven't learnt that yet. Most people will know that's my favourite saying. By developing a loving relationship with yourself, you can improve your own positive emotions and then be more open to others. How? We can share compassion and kindness by smiling and saying hello to the child or person who sits alone or gets bullied, because remember, what we now know about the science of social pain. So through small acts of kindness, acts add up to something bigger. Imagine a world where we focus on kindness and compassion. What would that feel like? How would that world be? Neuroscience tells us that when we're practicing anything, and we can practice kindness, it's just those small little things, just making a difference, making that smile, because we know that when we do that continually, we get better at it. I would now like to share 2 stories of kindness as I remember them best. So the first is from a client who consented to me to share this today. So if you're here today, thank you. The story in her life has been one of pain and true human resilience. She's experienced many visits to the doctors and hospital to have painful procedures completed. So brave. And it was in a recent visit and procedure that a nurse held her hand, spent time stroking her back and soothing her apparent distress. She reported she had never experienced this kind of care before. How many times had she been to a doctor and hospital? She described feeling less pain and of being overwhelmed with enough positive emotion to share this with me. Thank you to the nurse wherever you are, as this simple act of kindness has made a difference to my brave client. The second story I've heard from 2 different people, so this shows how kindness grows. And they were at a busy shopping centre in Busselton actually, and there was a young mum with young children fussing at the checkout when the bill of over $100 declined. Both the checkout operator and the person in the queue described the feeling of distress, the embarrassment for the mum, and that they could see the children's irritability starting to increase, as you can imagine. A lady in the queue behind the mum stepped forward and paid her bill, simply stating, "I remember having hard times with children." Compassion and empathy. The true essence of giving is doing so for no reward or payback. So many people were affected by this kindness that day, and in particular, the young mum and children. She left smiling, holding her children close to her. You can imagine that feeling. And I'm sure this story has been shared with so many. I even felt happiness. I felt positive emotion when I heard the story, and a deep gratitude to that person in the queue who I don't even know. And we may not have the money to pay a bill for somebody like that, but we can always help others in our community in small ways. How could you do that today when you leave here? In finishing today, I would just like you to take a moment. I'd like you to turn to the person next to you and smile. And just notice what happens. Be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you all, and may you continue to connect positively with others. And remember, kindness connects us to people. It gives hope. People matter. Back to you, Mr.
Thank you, Joanne. And isn't it wonderful to be reminded that small acts of kindness both help us to feel better and someone else at the same time. It's a win-win. Our next presenter is Sally Gray. Sally is the founder of Real Healthy Kids, a business committed to educating and empowering mums with the knowledge, tools and practical strategies to live their best life, reaching their highest potential to profoundly impact their children for lifelong resilience. Sally operates from the belief that supreme health is available to us all. It is a matter of unlocking our human healing potential, both physically and emotionally. Sally is the author of the best-selling Nourishing Your Child for Health and Happiness, a comprehensive guide to nutritional well-being for children, and the upcoming Modern Mother's Guide to Healthy and Happy 21st Century Kids. Sally's career spans 25 years, and she has brought together the very best of mind-body medicine as a naturopath, nutritionist, herbalist, transpersonal counsellor, gestalt therapist, life coach, kinesiologist and EFT practitioner to create comprehensive wellness programs and treatment protocols for resolving chronic health issues and creating extraordinary health from infancy and preventing future dis-ease. and a robust inner resilience and awareness for personal power. Sally works privately with small groups and conducts a range of dynamic educational events, both live and online, to facilitate empowering transformations and support her clients to experience unconditional joy and harmony, unlocking our innate healing capacity and truly living the life of their dreams. With this emphasis on robust health, we're delighted to report that Sally does let her hair down occasionally. She loves good hot chips. And Taz's Bakery in Dunsborough gets the thumbs up, apparently. Sally, we're curious to hear more about your thoughts on social connections and wellbeing.
Thank you, Essel. That was lovely, and I feel strangely outed. I'm sure I'm not the only person that appreciates good chip. But that's a whole other panel discussion.
Siesta Park's really good.
Siesta Park?
Yep.
Thank you. That's a good recommendation. I'm really pleased to be part of this discussion here today because I've really come to appreciate the role that social connection plays in creating a profound healing environment and supports our health, both physical and emotional. So in my 25-year career, I've made some observations, you'll be pleased to know, over the time. And what I've come to see is that regardless of the information that I deliver and the journeys that I help my clients to embark upon, there can be some real variances in the kinds of outcomes that they experience. And these are families that are prepared to go to just about any length. I'm dealing with families who have chronic health issues with children, and there's no greater incentive usually than dealing with a sick child to inspire some change. And regardless of this, I do see that there are differences in the outcomes, and families can go through gut healing protocols for 2 years. So it's not necessarily all about the nutrition. There are so many factors in place, but what I really started to understand is that inherent in any kind of health journey or healing journey, there is stress. There is nothing greater than stress, probably, in this kind of picture that people are dealing with. So when I started to see that my approach, which had been for most of my career very much focused on the physiology, the physical blobness of person I see before my eyes, and shifted my approach to appreciate that we are much more than what we see. Science now tells us that we're more bugs than we are human cells. We're more energy than we are matter as well. So to look at the physical body as the only part of our health, the only thing that needs addressing in healing from a health issue, or even just being preventative in your approach to health, to create the very best of health, it's really short-sighted. And so when I started to see that stress is inherent and what can I do about this, I started to see real transformation. I could guarantee that the results would be much better than they had been before. And so it took a real shift for me though, because I was not dealing with this side of my clients' journeys at all. So I remember the first time that I started to embrace this more holistic approach in my clinic, and I asked a mum how she was going on her journey. And this was I had the mum and dad of a family that I was working with. The child was 6 at the time, and they'd been on a 6-year journey with a really sick kid. And she broke down in tears when I asked her how she was. And I could see that this was really hitting on something. And so I tried not to cry as well. And when she came back to us in the room, she said no one in her 6 years on the journey had asked her how she is. And then I asked the dad, and he responded in a similar way. He was angry. And when we got talking about the feelings that they were feeling, and what I have learned since, there's a commonality in theme that runs something like this. There is anger, there is confusion, there is guilt, there is all sorts of feelings that these families are experiencing that are left unexpressed, because the whole journey that they're on becomes so about the dis-ease that they're trying to resolve for their child, which causes their priority. So when I worked then to see how their connection, this very vital primary family unit connection was between the mum and the dad, they looked at me like I was an alien when I said, how are you supporting each other through this journey? And of course, they'd never even considered the idea. And so this has become very much a big part of my focus in supporting families to the best of health and in dealing with a chronic health issue with children. We have to ensure that this primary family unit that is all about social connection. And we know that creating social connection is a predictor of health outcomes, of healing, of longevity, as Esilt and Joe have said already. So we can look at creating and strengthening that primary unit so that the healing journey is optimised for children and the experience isn't completely stress-filled for the family, so that they can actually reconnect and start to experience joy rather than wait until they get to the other end before everything can be okay again. So I think the focus really is in dealing with social connections in a healing setting, creating that first sometimes. While I really believe that nutrition is the portal to wellness, it's not all that there is. We need to look at how to create that robust inner resilience, as I like to say, and the connection between mum and dad, and the connection between the parents and the child, rather than the parents and the disease that's being experienced. So this idea of social connection is just so valuable and a very, very big aspect of creating the best of health, something that I think we can all learn from. And what we know about social connection is it is something that we can evolve and develop. And one of the key ways to do that is to improve compassion. And that starts with compassion for self. And then we can be compassionate towards others. So as Joe was saying, we can develop this skill. And I've got a little list of exercises that I run through, in sometimes all of them with my clients. And there was also the post that I popped on Facebook the other night, which was the morning ritual as recommended by the Dalai Lama, and I reckon he knows his stuff. So if you want to know about that, you can pop onto Facebook and have a look at that morning ritual, because it's a beautiful way to start the day. And it's just a collection of words and sentences that are very empowering and really grounding and just make you feel good, which who doesn't want a bit more of that in their day? But from this space of self-compassion, we can really evolve, connect more, experience the very best of health, and support any healing journey that we might find ourselves needing to take. And of course, my passion is children, so I think this is such a profound activity for parents to undertake. But other kinds of exercises that I will get the families that I work with to do are things like the avatar compassion exercises, where we can consider an issue that we're experiencing and take that issue through a level of understanding and awareness, that we begin to appreciate that we're all here trying to do our very best on this journey, and we're at different levels, yes, but if we start to really see that we're just doing our best at any given time, that's just one way to develop some compassion. Another way is to, as Joe did mention also, is how would you consider how you would treat your best friend. So if you were considering that the issue you're experiencing was something your best friend was telling you they were experiencing, I can assure you that the language that you would use to support your best friend would be much more compassionate than possibly the storyteller that's going on in your mind that might be berating and far from supporting your journey. So that's another way to develop some self-compassion. And you can also explore self-compassion through writing, and this is one of the things I do use with dads and mums, and that's to get them to write their story no holds barred, get everything that they've been experiencing that has likely been unsaid out onto paper. It doesn't need to be presented to anyone in particular, but it's a way of expressing oneself, but getting an understanding of what's actually being experienced internally at an emotions level, because it can stay bottled up for so long it then becomes a confusing experience. But this process of writing can really develop self-compassion as well. And then really recognising that this inner world, this inner storyteller that we have in our mind, can lead us astray and take us away from our true centre, which is compassion. And when we learn to listen and become aware of that storyteller that's going on in our mind and becoming more objective, we can begin to see that our thinking can create that disconnect as well. So there's lots of ways that we can continue to grow personally and evolve our thinking to create better self-compassion, which leads to social connection. And social connection is what we know is going to lead to a more fulfilling, satisfying, loving, connected experience in life. So as I said, I'm really happy to be part of this discussion, and I hope that it continues after we've all shared what we want to say. So thank you for listening.
Our third presenter is Dr. Yvan Ducat. Yvan is an osteopath who graduated from the Sydney College in 1976. He combines his health practice with a passion for Siddha meditation, which he first learned in 1978. This means he's been doing regular meditation practice for almost 40 years. Research tells us that it takes 10,000 hours of practice to master any complex skill. So I reckon by that Yvan is definitely a master. He says that after many years of meditation, one automatically slots into a space of stillness. His daily habit is to rise before dawn to read and meditate. He and his wife Yvonne were responsible for the creation of a Siddha meditation centre, which they ran for 12 years. Yvan says that this meditation practice has allowed him to understand osteopathic training in the cranial field at a deeper level, and has developed his awareness of the interconnection between human beings. Yvan and his wife Yvonne run the multidisciplinary Busselton Osteopathic Clinic and are the parents of 3 grown-up children. Yvan has a fascinating history. He trained for 6 years as a jeweller in France before migrating to Australia. In Australia, he looked after laboratory mice before what he describes as a fortunate accident landed him in hospital with a painful back condition. A chance meeting on Bondi Beach with an osteopath who could quickly alleviate Yvan's debilitating back pain was a catalyst to a new and incredibly satisfying career. A fun fact that you may not know about Yvan is that he spent 9 years of leisure time constructing an 11-metre catamaran, which is now parked in the clinic car park for some alterations. So any assistance in getting it back in the water will be gratefully accepted. Thank you, Yvan, for sharing your perspective on social connection and wellbeing.
Thank you very much. I think we're all master in making, aren't we? And what I'd like you to do today, we're going to talk about something which is very, very close to my heart. I'd like you to feel what an osteopath would feel. Okay? So if you just refresh your position now, and I'd like you to place your hands on your thighs. Okay? And as I carry on with my talk, you might be able to feel what goes on within yourself. You might be able to feel different rhythms. They might change and fluctuate. Okay. So you're going to become as still as possible. And in the process, something is going to take place. So I'm going to tell you a story that took place a few years ago in the clinic. It's about, would have been 2010, something like that. We ran a pediatric clinic for osteopaths, from Perth and the South West. And the setup was very different from a normal clinic. We had 3 tables in a room, and most of the time we had about 9 to 10 osteopaths working on the children we were treating. And I'd like you to imagine 3 children on the table. Okay, they're 4 to 8 years of age. They've got their mom and their dad, and none osteopaths are there in the room. Okay? And you can feel that the children are not well. They have coughs, runny nose, sad faces. And try to imagine the hand of the osteopath on those children. What they are sensing for, as an osteopath isn't there, okay? It feels flat, it feels inert. The treatment is going nowhere. Okay. And that's why I looked at the mother, and the mother was, you could feel, so tired. So I asked her to actually, lie on the table. I placed my hand on her, and what do you think I found? She was very flat. She was like a chip. As the treatment went on, you could feel that a vitality was coming up. And at the same time, the osteopath felt the vitality of the children come up as well. They synchronized with their mother. And that's the point which is so important, because the mother is the hub of the family. And what is quite funny, it's like the father was there as well. Got up and said, Marnie feels so much better now. Okay? And it's, for all the people who were there, especially the osteopath, that was really the first experience we had. Because the setup is so different. There was non-osteopath working there. And usually when you treat anyone, it's one-to-one. You got a practitioner, you got a child, or you got an adult. But suddenly, they were all the osteopaths, all trained quite early. They knew what they were feeling. And the mother, by releasing the mother, that incredible energy just changed the whole family, the whole context of health actually changed for all of us. We said, my God, what's going on? And the role of the mother was so important that now, in the clinic where we work, we won't even consider treating the child without treating the mother. We automatically treat both of them. And very often, as you treat the mother, the child automatically releases, and from a very grumpy child suddenly settles down and becomes quite placid and happy. Okay. So what happened there is really the interconnection between the child and the children. And that interconnection can be expressed at whole level. Okay? See, the thought of a fluent social interconnection as a prerequisite element, the innate and hidden knowledge of our own inner nature. How can we relate to each other if we do not know the potential content within our own inner self? Okay. As it was said in our introduction, I met an amazing meditation master. His name is Swami Muktananda. And that meeting, gave me the, you can say the knowledge of who I am. What's within every single one of us. you can say that, since that meeting, my work has changed drastically. Meditation has become my work, and work has become meditation. There is no difference, you can say. And osteopathy in the cranial field has revealed its potential through the practice of meditation, and it has been the beginning of a very long and fruitful experience. I'd like to tell you more about what we call the cranial field in osteopathy. It's the cranial field has its root in the forces involved in embryology. Okay, it is a blueprint of health. It is unconditional love in all its beauty. It is an unexplored territory by modern science, and remains the realm of osteopaths and other practitioners who can perceive its power. The primal force in the prior to conception is named by osteopaths the primary respiratory mechanism, or the breath of life. Okay. That primal force is still there in all of us at the moment, and that's what you might be able to feel when you place your hand on your thighs. Okay. You can see why modern science taught at university is reticent to involve itself in such a debate. It is not Newtonian anymore. It has the quantum qualities. Newtonian science has an outstanding track record of separating information systems. And that's why it is so important to treat the whole person. As a cranial osteopath, I look for and work with the health. I'm not interested in a disease. That health, that blueprint, which is found in vibrant individuals, permeates every single cell in your body. Disease is, on the other hand, is a restriction of that vibration. It then limps, coughs, and becomes a chronic condition. It is not wholesome any longer. Then the question arises, how can we become aware of our own expression of health? And this is the role of meditation. We have to believe before we can see. Health, expressed as the blueprint, manifests through 3 cranial rhythms. Some of you might feel the rhythm right now, all offering different possibilities and opportunities. These rhythms respond to our thought process, as well as biomechanical, biochemical, and electromagnetic forces. It represents the fork in the road, this or that. These rhythms are completely neutral, waiting for our command. So Masseur denotes the inner power we all have within us when it is acknowledged. Vibrant health goes hand in hand with a healthy social interconnection. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy society. Okay. I invite you to ask questions at the end of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yvan, and for that very apt reminder that whether we're aware of it or not, our state of being is affecting those that we are moving amongst. And I think that's where often we're unaware of it, and yet when we become aware of it, we can change it. Our final presenter is Dr. Nathan Smalley, paediatrician. Nathan is passionate about the specialty of paediatrics and has extensive experience in children's acute care medicine. Nathan grew up in London before moving to far north Scotland. And since then, he has enjoyed living regionally whenever the opportunity has arose. When he first arrived in Australia, Nathan worked in far north Queensland before moving to Perth. In July last year, he established South West Paediatrics. His local practice has a branch here in Busselton and one in Margaret River. Nathan's interest in the Holistic Health Network stems from his belief that openly collaborative healthcare across specialties improves communication and understanding between health professionals and patients. This results in improved outcomes and greater satisfaction for the patient as they become central to the healing process. As Joanne succinctly put it, people matter. In his leisure time, Nathan finds playing his guitar enjoyable and relaxing, and as he spends more time in the southwest, he's keen to take up surfing. When I asked Nathan about something surprising to share with you, he did make me smile. In Scotland, one of his previous summer jobs was working as a goat herder. That adds to his experience with kids and their behaviour. I'm just not sure there are too many parallels between chasing goats and chasing waves. Nathan, we're looking forward to hearing about your view on social connection and wellbeing.
Hi, thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you very much to the other panellists as well for your talks. I think that when I was asked to think about social connection and its relevance to my work, it made me think of the literal meaning of the words and how it's transformed healthcare and the provision of medical healthcare in the 20 years that I've been now involved working in hospitals and clinics. And thinking about it from the traditional model, which tended to follow a quite strict hierarchy, and the typical role was that the patient wouldn't be a particularly questioning patient. They would just take whatever they were told as gospel. There wouldn't be much room for asking questions. There was no real knowledge whether or not the advice that was being given was based on opinion or huge amounts of research. And that you'd then be sent out of the room, and potentially you may have just been given a devastating diagnosis, or someone in your family, and you may just think, oh, you know, I'm on my own with this. You know, where am I going to turn and what am I going to do? If you now kind of reflect that to the more modern approach, which is the world is now a very small place. You can take a disease or condition where you could have one person in this whole region, and they can then speak to other parents of other children who've got the same condition. These people could be in Perth, they could be in Melbourne, they could be in Bangladesh, they could be anywhere. And so the idea is that you can draw on other people's experiences and draw on other people's findings from their own care, particularly for rarer diseases or illnesses. And through doing that, you can improve the collaboration between the medical practitioners and the patients. This has broken down that hierarchy entirely and has led to people coming in with a pre-thought out list of questions, which can be quite terrifying at times. And you see people coming in with a bag full of things, and now I've just done a little research on this. Okay, and but that's actually great because it gives you, as a practitioner, the ability to say, I really don't know very much about this, but I'm going to also use social connection to find out. I can email a specialist in the States about something, and you can find out a lot more information and a lot more accurate ways in which to both research, manage, and offer assistance to people with what could otherwise be isolating conditions. And I was asked to, we'll give an example, and I think a good example of a very broad condition and how social connection can enhance management of that condition is with autism. And I know that it touted, I was going to talk about surfing and autism, so this is where it's coming to the bit I was touted as saying. So so autism, as some of you may know, can be quite an isolating diagnosis when it's given to you. And it doesn't matter where you live. You could live in a big city, you could live in a regional area. But that first thought is, as a parent, is, what am I going to do now? Where am I going to turn to for help? And who's going to be able to provide that help? And there's been a lot more research in recent times which has drawn on the experiences of other parents with children with autism, and using their own findings in order to create avenues of possibly unexplored research that was never going to happen without that kind of kickstart. And one of those happens to have been surfing. So there was there still is, ex-professional surfer by the name of Yvan in the States. And he has a child, Isaiah, with autism. And he has, autism is clearly a spectrum, and Isaiah is on quite a severe end of the spectrum. And Izzy himself found that when he took Isaiah out on the board, on the waves with him, that he had better control of his own emotions, better control of his own behaviours, there was less violence in the household, and there was better communication between Isaiah and his parents. Now, he could have just gone through life not telling anyone this, just happy that he'd created a better outcome for his own child. But instead he told everyone, he told all of his pro surfer buddies, and they then told everyone, and then they decided to host an event. It was a local event at the time, and now that's kind of extrapolated to becoming a worldwide event. And it's amazing that without that kickstart and without that connection, we may have missed the fact that having time out, as we were just talking about on a previous meeting, potentially being out on an environmental position where you can focus on the horizon, may in itself be the avenue to improve self-balance and communication with your family and ability to control your own emotions and behaviours. And so as I was moving down south, where I still am in the process of moving down south here, it made me think, well, how can I integrate with the community? And I think that it allows and someone's difficulty to become a community almost responsibility to help improve it. And that by doing that, there is a goodwill change or exchange that works both ways. It's not just people volunteering and giving up their time for free. There is actually a payback from that, which is that they feel better as well. And the events like that, I know there are surfing events for children with disabilities down here, and there is a more recent development of a group that deals with the same thing in Perth. But given that there seems to be quite a lot of talk of surfing down here, I think that there is a great avenue here to do something along those lines. And it's hard to summarise sometimes. I'm going to try this. This could blow speakers, but it'd be an exciting way to finish. But it's hard to always describe the effect of someone's happiness and increasing confidence. So I'm going to play a clip. I'll have to bring it in towards the microphone, so bear with me if we have to play it twice. Is that audible? Yeah. There's just this look of elation on this guy's face. This little guy, he's just come back from riding on a wave, he's just been given a trophy, and he's absolutely made up. And so that can certainly, I think, seed ideas, in the community here, and hopefully bring about great changes for children here who have a variety of local health conditions.